Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about buy low players. I made a video like this about 3 weeks ago, and a lot of the players that I talked about bounced back, just like I said they would. Kyle Connor had 2 goals in 11 games at the time that I made that video, and now he has 6 goals in his last 10. Jordan Kyrou had 4 points in 10 games at the time that I made the video, and now he has 15 points in his last 13. A few other guys that I talked about, Sam Reinhart, Moritz Seider, they picked it back up, and if you made a deal for any one of these guys that I just talked about, you probably won that trade, and that is the purpose of buy low players. So now we have a new fresh set of players that you can trade for this week, and you want to make these trades as soon as possible because I do think a lot of them are going to bounce back. Before we hop into this video, I quickly want to say, please hit that subscribe button below. I looked at my analytics the other day and 93% of viewers are not subscribed. Obviously, I'm a new channel, so that's why this number's so high. But come on, guys, I'm putting in that work. If you enjoy this content, I'm going to be making videos 2 to 3 times a week. So hit that subscribe button below. I would appreciate it a ton. But without further ado, let's get right into this list. The first player on this list is the man in the thumbnail, the guy who had 85 points last season, the guy who was drafted likely in the second round of your fantasy drafts this year. That man is Victor Hedman of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and he's getting outperformed by guys like this, by guys like this, and by guys like this. Yeah, you probably don't even recognize any of these faces, and that's how bad Victor Hedman is doing right now. He has 10 points in 21 games, which isn't horrible, but it's not up to Hedman's standards. But what's even worse than this is that he only has 1 goal in these 21 games. So, I mean, come on, guys. Just look at Hedman's career stats. He's been a consistent 60 to 75 point player, even higher than that, and he's been a consistent 50 to 20 goal scorer. So, if you look at his numbers right now, he is on pace for 39 points and 4 goals. It would be one of his worst seasons of his career and his worst season in at least 10 years. Tampa is still a really good team. In fact, they are 6th in goals per game in the league, and yet he is not doing good. There is one big glaring reason as to why Hedman is underperforming offensively, and this is because he got taken off the first line power play in favor of Mikhail Sergachev. And this obviously really hurts Hedman's value. If you look at his power play points last season, he had 38 power play points. Take away like 30 of these points, and Hedman is no longer that elite fantasy defenseman that we always thought he was. In fact, if you look at Hedman's proficiency on the power play over the last 6 seasons, it accounted for 45% of his total production. That means 168 of his 374 points over the season came from the power play. If you take him off this power play, this kills his value. But listen, obviously he is on this thumbnail and I'm talking about him in this video, so I'm advocating to buy low in Hedman, and there are a few reasons for this. Like I said, he put up career numbers last year and he was only 30 years old, right? He's 31 years old now. How steep of a drop off could Hedman face from 1 year, 30 to 31? Doesn't make any sense, right? Sergachev is obviously a young player who's getting better, but Hedman should still be an elite player who can control that power play. I mean, he's been on that power play for so many years now. In the end, this is a high risk, high reward situation. It's not the most risk because even if Hedman isn't on that first line power play, he's going to put up 40 to 50 points with good peripherals, but there is some risk because you might trade a really good player for Hedman and then Hedman just stays playing bad like this. Obviously, that is not ideal. In terms of trade targets, if you can trade a guy like Filip Forsberg or Brandon Montour for Hedman 1-for-1, I think you win that trade. I think you probably should do that trade if you can. Look for a sell high defenseman to trade to an owner that has Hedman who might be extremely frustrated with how he's playing, or maybe do like a sell high forward that you can trade like Jamie Benn. I don't know. You got to get creative with these trades, maybe a 2-for-1. So yeah, talk to the Hedman owner, see how they value Hedman, make up some trades, figure it out, get creative, and see if you can make a good deal for Hedman because Hedman is still an elite guy who should be putting up more points than this. Another great buy low candidate is Vladimir Tarasenko of the St. Louis Blues. He currently has 17 points in 21 games, but what stands out is he only has 5 goals in these 21 games, putting him on pace for 19 goals in a full season. Tarasenko has dealt with a lot of injuries over the last couple of years, which pretty much sidelined him for all of the 2019 season and the 2020 season, but he finally came back last year and he put up career numbers, having 82 points in 75 games and also 34 goals. His deployment is amazing. He's in that top 6. He's on that first line power play. And I saw on Twitter the other day that he was put on a line with Robert Thomas and Pavel Buchnevich, which is just a really amazing line. And if you just look at his career numbers here, you can see that he's been a consistent 30-plus goal scorer his whole career, other than those injuries that he had in 2019 and 2020. So I expect him to start scoring more goals. If you look at his shooting percentage right now, it is not sustainable. It's at 8.9%. His career shooting percentage is around 13%. So I expect him to bounce back from that. And in general, I just think he's a great buy low candidate. He puts up great peripherals too because he takes so many shots. So send off those trades. I'm not really sure exactly who you can trade him for. Maybe look at a guy like, I think I mentioned this in the Victor Hedman section, Jeff Skinner, Jamie Benn, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, one of these sell high players that you may be able to entice an owner with if they own Tarasenko and are pretty upset with the way he's playing. So try it out and see how it goes. The next player on this list is Elias Lindholm of the Calgary Flames. Coming off that career year last year when he put up 42 goals and a total of 82 points in 82 games, Lindholm has certainly not lived up to the expectations that he put on himself this year. Obviously, Calgary is a very new team, no Gaudreau, no Makachuk, and he certainly has not clicked with Huberdeau or Kadri on that first line power play. Not doing too well right now with only 7 goals in 23 games, putting him on pace for 23 goals in a full season. Last year was definitely an outlier for him. I mean, Gaudreau, Kachuk, and Lindholm were like a plus 50 or something like that. Calgary was just insane. Markstrom had career numbers, so I don't expect Lindholm to reach that same height that he did last season. But if you look at his career stats, he's been a consistent 30 goal scorer, so I expect him to bounce back from how he's playing right now. I know we're a quarter way through the season right now, and you would expect them to build chemistry at this point, but sometimes it takes longer than, 23 games. And hopefully Lindholm can click with Huberdeau. They can get that power play going and they can score more goals because their system is still very good. I mentioned this in that goalie video in which I talked about Markstrom, but they are top 5 in shots for and top 5 in lowest shots against. So they're doing something right in that aspect. Center is a bloated position like I've talked about in previous videos, but I do think if you can get a good deal for him, which I think you can right now, you would probably win that trade. Lindholm is a very solid player who was likely going to score 30 plus goals, and I believe Calgary will eventually start clicking, which will improve Lindholm's play. We'll see what happens, but if you can find a right deal, definitely make it. One of the more interesting buy low candidates on this list is Andrei Vasilevskiy of the Tampa Bay Lightning, one of the best goaltenders in the league for quite some time. He is currently sitting at a pretty bad 2.77 goals against average and .908 save percentage. Maybe not pretty bad, but for his standards, this is not good, right? Vasilevskiy has never finished a season with these type of numbers. He also has a record of 9-7-1, so this is why he's a buy low candidate. He's just not meeting the expectations that owners have of him. Tampa and Vasi just had a really big night against the Flyers on Thursday. I know it's not saying much because it's the Flyers, but guys, I mean, Tampa is a top 5 team in the league. Vasi is not going to keep these numbers. They are not sustainable. And like I said, he's never finished a season with these type of numbers. Last season, he definitely was a little bit disappointing because in 2020, he was so good. But even if his numbers are just like last year, he's an elite goaltender. They are going to come back to that. And I expect big things from Vasi in the future. Now, I will say that it might be very difficult to trade for Vasilevskiy. He was a lot of people's second round draft picks, and he has that name value. People know Vasilevskiy as one of the best goaltenders in this league. So it might be difficult, especially if he has another big game like he did against Philly, but try to send those trades because goaltenders are a scarce position, and you really just want a guy like Vasi on your team. Maybe you could package a guy like Vitek Vanacek, maybe like a sell high forward, like some of the guys that I was talking about earlier, and maybe you can get him. Who knows? It all depends on the owner in your league that owns him and how he values him at the moment. So try to send off those trades because you probably will win the trade in the long run if you do get Vasi. I talked about this guy in my last buy low video, so I'm going to keep it short because the point still remains. Jonathan Huberdeau is an amazing buy low candidate. He should not be playing like this. 13 points in 20 games is not going to cut it, and I think if you trade for him, you are going to get an amazing deal and likely win in the long term. The reason I say this is because he's been an over point per game player for the past 4 or 5 seasons, and I know you might say, hey, he's not on Florida anymore. He's on Calgary. They're struggling. They don't know how to score goals. But guess what? Florida did not carry him to be an over point per game player. He is simply elite. He will eventually find that chemistry. He's going to build back that confidence, and I know he is going to get to that place. Maybe not like last season. Like, it's not going to be a 115 point season for Huberdeau, but I still think he could reach 100 points. I still have faith in Calgary and Huberdeau. So like I said, trade for him. Not really sure what type of trade you can make, but I'm sure his value is at an all-time low right now. So text the guy that owns Huberdeau, figure out what type of trade you can make, and definitely do it, because Huberdeau is an amazing player and he's still going to put up really good fantasy points for the rest of the season, in my opinion. Another goalie on this list is Igor Shesterkin of the New York Rangers. Coming off that Vezina season, being in consideration for the Hart Trophy, Shesterkin was amazing last season. I mean, just look at his stats here, guys. He had a 2.07 goals against average and a .935 save percentage. It makes sense why he was in contention for the Hart. However, he has not lived up to expectations this season, with an okay 2.58 goals against average and a .913 save percentage. For any normal goalie in the league, these would be great numbers, but Shesterkin is not a normal goalie, and he should be way better than this. Now, do I expect Shesterkin to put up the type of numbers that he put up last season, this season? No, I don't. It's really hard for a goaltender to replicate such an incredible season. There's so many variables that come into play, but Shesterkin is still, top 3 goalies in the league, if not the best goalie in the league, and these numbers are not fitting of how he normally plays. So I think he's such a great buy low candidate as a goalie, being such a valuable position in this league. If you can get a good deal for Shesterkin, the best goalie in the league last year, I think you are going to win that trade in the long run. The Rangers are struggling, like I said, but if you look at their team, it's not very different from their team last year. They added Vincent Trocheck and they got rid of Ryan Strome. That was pretty much it in terms of any big moves that they made. So knowing that they still have the same system, there's all-star players in Artemi Panarin and Zibanejad, I do expect the Rangers to start playing better, because they are a good team. They made it to the conference finals last year, took Tampa Bay to 6 games. They should be playing better, and Shesterkin should be playing better as well. So send out some trades, similar to what I said with Vasi, maybe like Vanacek, a different, sell high goalie potentially, maybe one of the Leafs goalies, I don't know. Package them with someone else and see if you can make a blockbuster trade. I'm not really sure what it's going to take, but who knows at this point with some of the owners that own him. Yeah, I mean, just send off those trades, try it out, because I'm assuming in the next 2 or 3 weeks, he is going to go on a streak. He's going to have a shutout or two, and the owners are going to be like, no way, I'm not trading Shesterkin. So you got to strike while the iron is hot. Give it a go and see what happens. Another Rangers player on this buy low list is Artemi Panarin. You might be looking at the stats right here on the screen and seeing 25 points in 24 games and thinking, how is this a buy low situation? He's playing great. Now, the reason why it is a buy low situation is because if you look at Panarin's last few seasons, if he played a full season in these seasons, he would be on pace for over 100 points over the past 3 or 4 years. So Panarin is not playing as he normally plays. The Rangers are struggling. He's struggling. He's definitely scoring less goals than he does. And this is the perfect time to trade for him. This guy puts up 95 plus points per season. He's playing on one of the best teams in the league. Obviously not one of the best teams right now with the way they're playing. Still good, but not elite like they were last year. But I do think they're just trying to find chemistry with Panarin and the line that he is currently on. What I mean by this is that Ryan Strome is no longer on the Rangers. He's not an amazing player, but that is who Panarin was playing with over the past couple of seasons. And now they got Vincent Trocheck, which, him and Panarin didn't really click very well. And that's why they've moved Panarin up to the first line that he's playing on right now with Kreider and Zibanejad. So that's absolutely stacked. Hopefully those guys can find some chemistry. Not really sure how the lines are going to look in the future, but if he ends up staying on that line, he is going to put up major fantasy points and go on one of those classic Panarin point streaks that you see over the past couple of seasons, where he'll have 3 3-point games in a row and go on a 15-point game streak. So guys, I mean, if talk to an owner, see what they value Panarin at. If you can trade a sell high guy for Panarin and get Panarin for the rest of the season, you are going to help your fantasy team a lot. Maybe trade a guy like Jesper Bratt, Martin Necas, Bo Horvat. These could be good options that you could trade for Panarin that I think could help your team, and you probably will win that trade. So yeah, look at those, get creative, and hopefully you can make a good trade for him. The last player on this list is Filip Forsberg of the Nashville Predators. I personally have a soft spot for Filip in my heart because the first 2 seasons of fantasy, he was on my team and he was incredible. Obviously last season, he was one of the best fantasy players in the league, and I knew he would get drafted pretty high this year, so I stayed away from him, but he is struggling a little bit right now, which is why I think he is a great buy low candidate. He has 20 points in 22 games, which is good, really good. But he only has 7 goals, putting him on pace for 26 goals on the season. And this isn't crazy low for Forsberg if you look at his career. He normally scores like above 30 goals, I would say. He misses time usually every season with an injury, but on pace for like 30 to 33 goals. If you're comparing this season's stats to last season's, then he is a great buy low candidate if you believe he is going to get back to that play. I mean, just look at these stats, guys. He had 42 goals in 69 games, putting him on pace for a 49 goal season if he played 82 games. Not only does he put up a lot of goals, he puts up so many shots and hits. He's one of the best peripheral guys in the league. So I really value him high, and I do think he will hit 35 goals this season still, because his deployment's amazing. First line power play. I said this in the goalie video in which I talked about Saros, but Nashville is a notorious slow starter, and I think that will affect Forsberg as well. So I do think Forsberg is going to pick it back up. Same with Nashville. He's going to score more goals, maybe go on a little bit of a hot streak. We will see. I mean, Nashville's already starting to win more games as of late. So buy low on him right now. I think this is the perfect opportunity to buy low on him. And if he can stay healthy, he should still be one of the best fantasy players in the league. All right, guys, that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed this content, please hit that subscribe button below. Also hit that notification bell if you want to get notified when I'm posting a video. I'll be posting 2 to 3 times a week, so I would appreciate that a ton. Also hit that like button as well. We're trying to get to 50 likes at least for this video. And like always, guys, have a good one.